Propaganda, propaganda.
Before fish eyes.
Three years ago, I was asked by the Eden Project in Cornwall to design a art installation for the Chelsea Flower Show. But the garden was entirely built by people that have been homeless or people that have been in prison, and they wanted me to design an installation called Place of Change. So I erected 40 reclaimed timber columns, and I hand painted a poem across all the columns, and that went into the garden at the Chelsea Flower Show. And the last line of the poem that I wrote was "Art saves lives." And it inspired me to open the company because the garden was built entirely by unskilled people, which was next to a garden that cost millions of pounds, and we won a silver medal. And our garden was the happiest garden there, you know, because everyone was just so proud of the work that they'd done, and it was all about them being empowered to do something, to learn a new skill, and then just show the world what they've made. So that's why our garden was really inspirational. So I started Art Saves Lives straight after that event at Chelsea Flower Show.
Stretching, pulling, taut strains. A current he pulls. Smothering in, smothering in, smothering in swamp. I'm supposedly retired, but that means I'm working full time. Because I don't know why it is, but maybe I've reached that lovely plateau in life where I've worked really hard to get rid of a whole heap of crunchy, horrible stones that held me down. And I'm suddenly flowering. It's like I'm flowering, girls. I am flowering. In 65 years, I've never flowered like this. I'm really beginning to, you know, to fill my spirit, and I feel really great. I want to be out there all the time. And in the cool. This wee thing is a happy accident. I went to Scotland to a music camp, and when I was feeling really depressed, really down, and I camped in this freezing fog-filled place, and into this fog-filled valley, this beautiful place.
Another damn nature poem. With Rexroth in close attendance, Bob Kaufman beaming from ear to ear, wall-to-wall jazz flowing down both nostrils. Last seen spouting obscenities in Japanese to a passing cloud. James Joyce coughs up blood into a barrel of salt. Last seen diving into a blameless ocean, searching for sunken pleasure. Allen Ginsberg walking alone, huddled down dead winter streets. Last seen skating on a frozen river, blowing a naked saxophone.
What it is, I do put in some political elements to my poetry, but I don't like to, you know, hammer it in. I like to just refer to it subtly. Perhaps I could just read you a short section of one of these poems. It's called Options Various. To solve the ever-present problem of global warming, press 1. To feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and house the homeless, press 2. To leave things as they are for the next 100 years, press 3. To pool all the world's resources and redistribute the newfound wealth, don't bother to press 4, because believe us, it will never, never, never work. Thank you. It's sort of, I've got this quite angry attitude at times, but you know, it does come out, and I just do have you know, I just don't agree with a lot of things that happen politically. To quote my good friend Bob Dylan, I don't really know him obviously, but he did say that politics is the works of the devil.
Flotsam and jetsam, detritus and dregs, who live on the margins or out on the edge. I speak of my family, the generation lost, sometimes remembered, more often forgotten.
This particular radio show is because it's for people who are marginalised and people who haven't had a chance to speak. I've been among the marginalised, I've been homeless, I've been on the streets, I'm an ex-soldier, I had post-traumatic stress disorder. So this is my way of putting something back, and a lot of what I write about is to do with the conditions for people who live on the streets and social justice issues. So I use the writing to highlight the wrongs, if you like, or other marginalised people. I always believed that poetry, a poet should be a voice for the voiceless, for the people who don't have a voice, or for people who don't get listened to even when they do speak, that informs a lot of the poetry I write is based on that.
Art Saves Lives is about what it is. What we do is, our mission statement is that we, for any artist, writer, musician or poet who for whatever reason feels marginalised by society, can be anything. You know, you could have, like we have artists that have contracted Parkinson's disease, for instance, you know, where there was an artist once who was a great portrait artist and he couldn't paint anymore because his hands shook with his disease. So we then encouraged him to paint in a different style, more abstract, because he still had a great sense of colour. So now he paints in a different way to adapt to his illness. So he's marginalised because we deal with another artist who's blind in one eye. You know, it's kind of things that the art world closes its doors to. You know, they're not really interested in, you know, background stories. You know, half the time they want to know where you studied or where did you train, or who did you work under. You know, they think that's a good provenance, where our artists are people that paint and draw and write and perform, but they don't quite know the right route to go. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to get their paintings put on walls. They don't know where to get their poetry heard or their songs sung. So Art Saves Lives offers that platform for those artists, because there's more of them out there. The art world's split into two worlds. You know, there's two circles. There's an inner circle and an outer circle, and there's more people in the outer circle looking in than there are looking out. But all the wealth is right in the middle. It's to a select few, which is why art schools and universities, they're all full of the same kind of person, all from the same social circles. And the problem with society is that it doesn't generally share this precious information, you know, which is like, everyone says a big problem with poverty. Well, poverty is just not about not having any money. It's about not having the knowledge to access further education, or the knowledge of what the right things to eat. You know, how can this day and age still have people that can't read and write? Let's work on that first. You know, because you get a young kid who can't read and write, well, you'll probably find that his mum can't read or write, and her mum before her can't read or write. So let's work on those cycles, breaking them, and the people that are more privileged and they've got all this information, they need to share it a little bit more and to open it up to the masses, because there's more of us outside looking in than there are inside looking out. You know, we're out there. You know, we've all got scripts in the drawers, paintings tucked behind the bed. You know, just get them out and start showing them to the world. And that's what this radio show's about. It's about getting. We never know what's going to happen. You know, we get the guests in. You know, it's unscripted. We don't have a script. We don't work off. We don't have a prep meeting. We don't have a rehearsal. We just come in, do it, and the result is magical.